I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Parks and Community Services Committee on Thursday, August 15th, 2024. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
And then one observation was the very last word in the minutes from the last time we were discussing about create a new quote park. And the last word talked about the current owner of the 4 acres. And it was represented in there that was being considered for a donation. That's considered a sale. Make to sell. Big difference.
Thank you. Anybody have any other corrections? No? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Righty, thank you so much. So today we're going to have a speaker two speakers from the North Coast Watershed Association. One of them is not here yet, and so we're going to go ahead with our agenda. And then when he gets here, we'll go back. So, all righty, thank you. So then first is Kirk, monthly state of the parks. Good morning. Oh, public comment. I always forget public comment.
You got right-of-way trees in front of me too, on the agenda.
Go ahead, Mike. Do you have a public comment?
I sit here or should I stand?
Wherever you like.
Wherever I am. That's an old 60s thing. Wherever you are, you are. I'm a tennis player and of declining abilities. And there's some issues I'd like to discuss. The first thing is in the short term, the windscreens have been traditionally put up on, and Kirk can chime in here if he needs to, but windscreens have been put up on Memorial Day and taken down on Labor Day.
June 1st to September 15th is how DRB described it.
Oh, September 15th. So we would like to have that extended maybe from mid-May to mid-September, because with the pickleball, has become such a popular thing. Pickleballs are much more susceptible to wind. And it'd be great if we could expand the season a little bit. And I think it has to go to the DRB for approval of the extension, but I'm willing to take it to DRB. But I think I was told that Parks should weigh in on it initially. It'd be nice if we could do it. You could approve it, at this meeting. That's a short-term request. So Kirk, you want to say anything about that?
Well, the marching orders that I've been operating under for 22 years is around June 1st to around September 15th, depending on weather conditions. And so we've tried to stick with that. I've been a little late putting them up June 1st, but I've also been early. September 15th is the date. They haven't come down before then ever. And I'm happy to put them up sooner. Wait, no problem.
So
But
I'd like Mike to finish his public comment, and if it's appropriate, I'd like to have it on a discussion item for next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was hoping that maybe it wouldn't be a discussion item next month. I was hoping that it could be extended into September of this year, but
But it sounds like it already goes
it
into
already goes to
September.
September 15th.
that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, the other issue is we would really like to request that windscreens be put up on the 2nd Street court, because it's as windy on the 2nd Street court as it is on the Spruce Street court. And, that involves a budgetary item, but we'd really like to see that happen. I'm a tennis player, but I'm also a pickleball player. It's been, tremendously popular. It's just amazing how many people are using the facility. Probably it's the most heavily used facility in the park now. I think it's really been great. I mean, I resisted, I and some of my cohorts, including Mr. Guerin, resisted the idea of putting pickleball on both courts, but it's been very good and very successful. So that's that question. I mean, that's a request, but that'll have to probably go. I mean, I don't know if Karen can find, or you guys can find funds in the budget for a second, for the other screens, but next, it would have to be next May. So the other thing is, and I had some notes here. Randy Neal is also on the Zoom. He's another tennis player and would like to say a couple of things, but the other item has to do with the potential for an AED on the chamber building, and it's kind of a complicated issue. Randy's probably going to talk about it more, but it's been discussed. I'm a AFib sufferer, and I think, and I spend a lot of time on the tennis court. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the park with the pickleball surge that also have heart issues, and I think it would be incumbent on you, on the city, to put an AED device on the backside of the chamber building. And I don't know if the funding it gets complicated because it has to be serviced. It has to be funded initially, it has to be replaced. But it's a life-saving device that has, great benefit. I was responsible when I was mayor to have the AED put in this building or in this room. And I don't know if it's been used since then, but you never know when somebody's going to drop, to their, well, not drop dead actually, but drop down on the tennis court or on the soccer field or wherever. But it's a great place. I think it would be a great place to have it. So that's my request.
Okay,
So, and Randy Neal would like to also chime in here.
okay, thank you, Mike.
PO 132.
Randy, do you want to speak?
Yes. So I'm also a pickleball player and a tennis player. I've hosted pickleball for the local residents out on some of the evenings the last couple of years. I got a shock last year when, an older gentleman that plays with us sort of regularly, we were complimenting on how well he does, and then he said he was 85. And that made me really think. Our club, our tennis club in Portland, put one of these things in like 15 years ago. The stories used to be so-and-so died, on the court from a heart attack or whatever. The stories in the last 15 years have been how many people have been saved after they went down. One of the people that was saved maybe 7 years ago is a Cannon Beach resident who basically says he'd be dead if he wasn't playing tennis because that would be the only place all day long that he'd be close to a defibrillator. I don't think what we want to do is have something out there all year long, but at least during the summertime, probably when the windscreens go up and when the windscreens go down. There's a lot of activity out there. Pickleball by its own definition is a bunch of old folks. The local tennis players that play out there are all, mid 70s, mid 60s now. The transportation plan, when it was did the traffic surveys, says there's more than 600 people that go through the intersections of Spruce and 2nd Street every hour. And we have the Hispanic Soccer League out there every Wednesday night. And we talked to them previously about would they support this kind of thing, and they said yes. You know, there's no statute or anything that says this is a requirement. You know, just like there's no requirement to have it there in the chamber, in the council chamber. But it's the right thing to do. You know, the fire department might be able to get there in the 8 minutes it takes for somebody to run out of oxygen, but during the summertime, that might be a stretch, and this would be a good thing. Packages like units like this, they're basically self-explanatory. They basically turn on and walk you through the steps. You know, this person in Cannon Beach who died years ago keeps one in the back of his car all the time now. So I think it would be a great idea. The other topic is, I know when pickleball was first talked about just before COVID, it was said that the courts would be resurfaced sometime in the next couple of years, you know, 2 to 3 years. Well, we're on like year 4, so I would hope that maybe for next year's budget, you know, a resurfacing can be looked at as well. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Randy. Okay. Trevor, are you ready if the watershed speaks, or should we go with Kirk?
Is there anybody else in the audience that?
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, thank you.
All right, I think I can do this now.
Okay, Graham and Erica, if you want to come up.
Awesome.
And Kelly. And Kelly.
Another chair here perhaps?
So I'm actually passing out party favors.
We're all here today, so.
Great, great. Stickers.
So good to see many familiar faces. We're back again.
Welcome, thank you for being here.
Yes, we have today myself, Graham, this is my coworker Kelly, as well as Erica. And together we represent the North Coast Watershed Association, and with you all, you represent our Coastal Council. And so we're here today to give you some updates on some things that we talked to you about in the past, talk about some next steps, and just kind of plug you into what we're working on. So with that, I'll just begin, and I'll just say, you know, to the next slide when we're ready to advance. So, you know, this is a little example of some of the things that we do. This is a large wood placement up on Bear Creek. And, you know, we're really your local entity for doing more of this work. You know, in 2015, there was a large wood placement similarly done in the Ecola Creek watershed. And so now we're really looking on advancing to some next steps. And one of those next steps is our Ecola Creek Beaver Habitat Restoration Project, which Kelly and I are going to tag team today to talk to you a little bit about. But we're also going to talk to you about our most recent work, and actually something that Kelly's going to get down Periscope on here just after this this meeting, which is our Rapid Biological Assessment and Limiting Factors Analysis Light for our watersheds. And so these are snorkel surveys that we've been conducting throughout the watershed. That we got a grant from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board to do a monitoring project to figure out how many juvenile salmon and trout are in our streams and where are they, and also are they at their full potential. So I'm going to share some maps today that'll show you that. Just a little overview of our service area and our partners area. You know, we work collaboratively with the Nicanicum Watershed Council, as well as the Nehalem Bay Watershed Council and the Upper Nehalem Watershed Council. And that's really one of our strengths, is we work collaboratively across these boundaries that, you know, ultimately the rain falls on either side of, but we work all across. And so that's where, you know, part of why we're so appreciative to work with partners like you all, because you help us stay tuned in to what everybody else is doing out there. So I'll just begin by talking a little bit about what this rapid biological assessment and limiting factors analysis light is all about. So we call it a rapid biological assessment because we're moving quickly through the watershed and we're diving every fifth pool. So this is a 20% sample of the pool data on juvenile salmon and trout. And within that, we're using a tool that some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with, Survey 123 and ArcGIS technology to collect this data, which was previously all collected in Right in the Rain notebooks and then entered into an Access database in the wintertime.
So much counting.
So much counting, data errors in doing that. And so we've kind of taken an innovative approach to using this new technology to rapidly collect the information and also have it in real time for us to, be able to edit or make some changes on if we need to. And ultimately, this has actually allowed us to preserve more funds than we had originally anticipated with the project. So we did our first year of data collection last year, and then because we made this tool, we've been able to preserve enough funding to do it again this year. And so we have 2 years now of fish data. And then our goal is to get the third year, and then we'll have the first ever full salmon cohort represented for our watersheds, which will become, my hope is the ultimate baseline for really monitoring all our projects, because we can come back every 3 years or every, 6 years or 9 years, but essentially we're coming back and we're capturing, how well our projects are doing based on that, full salmon cohort. Because salmon, you get 1 year and that's really just a snapshot. But if you get all 3 years, you're getting, every 3 years they come back. So you're getting that full cohort. So this is just an example on the Mechanicum of a quality large wood structure. And you can see what looks like a mess is really a highly productive area. And so what these structures do and what is happening, with the placements that were done even in 2015 up in the Ecola Creek watershed, is they're really creating an environment where there's deeper pools and there's more scour, and even that scour is creating cooler water below. And so this is just a shot of what, Kelly and Jeremy, who are in that picture in the upper right, down with their heads in the water, what they're seeing. And so they're rapidly counting, and it's a skill to develop to count all these fish, and they're moving around, but we've got a highly trained crew that's doing this as we speak. And that's what they're seeing are these, really cool areas. There's even steelhead in that pool down below. So, just a really important picture that we get to paint about what's really the health of our watersheds. So, and so some other things that we've developed from that are some other cool maps that, show you where spawning gravels are, for example. So you can see, and these kind of are intuitive, right? In the upper watershed, there's going to be smaller rock size and more gravel. So you can see in the Mechanicum, there's a nice heat map that shows you where the density of spawning gravels are. So we collect other information in addition to the pool data. Beaver dams are another one. And so we've got some really good data on what is in the, where are the beaver dams and how many of them are there. And that's one of the, limiting factors for juvenile coho as listed in the Oregon Coho business plan that the Governor Brown put out several years back. So moving into, and this is maybe a little hard to see, I apologize, but Trevor's got this. And if you guys want to, see it up close, you can have a review of it. This is just an example of showing you all where, fully seeded coho habitat is. So, we see fish, we see, certain numbers of fish, but that is really what does that mean, right? Because we're really trying to figure out, okay, is there fish there? Is it reached its full potential? And so fully seeded coho habitat is about, 3 coho per meter square. So in this, image here, or the map here, you can see all those yellow dots and orange dots. Those are not fully seeded. And that's the story of most of the Oregon coast, is that we have coho in our streams, but the amount of fish in there is well under what it should be. And so that's that's a combination of the habitat, the returns, and, you know, really understanding why those things are in place. And also not having enough beaver in our system. So that's where we're trying to really, you know, key into those things and show you all where, you know, we do have some spots in the Ecola Creek Forest Reserve. And so what I did here in this map is you can actually see that is the actual location that is fully seeded, where you see that kind of green circle there. And so what is there? It's a large wood placement that was done in 2015. So that's, I think, really the cool utility of all this work is that you can see that if we build it, they will come and they will be very happy they came. So that's one of the benefits of doing this, but also as we do more work in the watersheds, we can start to get a better picture of where these areas, you know, that we potentially could do work are, or some area that's not quite up to its full potential, and we can enhance it along. So so moving along, I can, you know, I've got all the other watersheds in here just to show you, you know, the representations across our service area. And the Ecola Creek, you know, I should have mentioned, Ecola Creek is actually doing, whoops, going the wrong way. Oh, it only goes one way, excuse me.
You can go back.
And go back. Oh, okay, thank you. So yeah, there we go. So you can see Ecola Creek actually has some pretty good, you know, good coho habitat right in the middle of the Ecola Creek Forest Reserve. So, you know, these are all things that, you know, we're going to use in trying to bring this beaver project that we've been going to bat for a couple times here into, you know, better focus for our funders. And that's where this will ultimately be the story we can tell with this information. So, so anyway, I'll just kind of quickly cruise through some of these other watersheds. This is kind of another cool project that we're doing in the North Fork Clatskanie, or Clatskanie, excuse me, where we're working on a dam removal that's up at the hatchery there, that is gonna basically open up that entire watershed. And you can see there's some blue circles below where the dam site is. And that's goes to show you that below the dam, the fish are, you know, doing quite well. And above the dam, we see none of that. So these are projects where as we open up the habitat, you know, we'll be able to return to these areas and snorkel them over time to show there's should be a linear uptick in the fish numbers as we do more good work. So anyway, Bear Creek Watershed, another good example of a non-barriered system that's got some really quality habitat in it, and you can see more green circles in there. And then, you know, Big Creek is another area that we're working a lot with Hampton Lumber on. And so the upper watershed there has got some, you know, some good areas, but not quite at its full potential because there's, like many of these systems in the Oregon coast, there's a lack of large wood. And so large wood is a benchmark that luckily in the Ecola Creek watershed, from the work that you guys have done in the past, is, you know, is in there and it's doing its job and starting to mature. And so that's where, you know, we want to do that more throughout our watersheds, because that's really one of the missing pieces as well, in addition to beaver. So moving into the Ecola Creek Forest Reserve and some of the work that we've done leading up to our presentation here today. This is, you know, an example of a BRAT analysis we did with a technical assistance grant from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board. And so we've, you know, got a sense of where we think dam building potential is. And so we've used that information in trying to put forth these grants, and it's been helpful to show our funders that yes, there is an opportunity here. We just need to figure out why the beaver aren't doing their thing and what can we do to nudge them along to do it better, because when beaver thrive, coho thrive. And so that's where we're trying to really align those two and find some key areas where we can do that. The other map on the right there is just a map that I made that just kind of shows you where the infrastructure is. So where those large wood placements were, where the water intakes that were, you know, not trying to work up against or, you know, work in opposition to its function. We're trying to really promote the watershed health function and really preserve that infrastructure. And so that's just a map that I wanted to kind of the two layers that we're working around here. And so these are some maps from the insets from the grant that we put in for highlighting where we'd like to do some blackberry removal, because as you all are aware, blackberry is a naturalized, non-native invasive species. And so those are, you know, kind of opportunity zones that we've looked into as places where we could remove those plants, but also they have enough sun to grow some of the other plants such as vine maple and other species that the beaver really like to eat, or as some of our beaver biologist friends call the Snickers bars of the beaver browse world. So and unfortunately, those plants just aren't in the system. And that, you know, stems back to historic logging practices and just there being, you know, a lack of some of these species. And so that's where we want to work with you all to figure out how can we install these and work on, you know, some management applications that you all have also been doing throughout your work. So so anyway, these are just some insets. We had, you know, 6 project areas total listed. And so these maps have, you know, inserts that show you kind of where within the ECFR those areas are. And then also, you know, where the coho distribution is, and also the BRAT, you know, model that shows approximately what the beaver dam building capacity is for that area. So, you know, it's a lot of technical stuff to try and get to a very, to get to a simple solution, which is more dam building, you know, and not the kind that the fish can't jump. These are really important structures that actually help retain more moisture on the landscape, especially as we move into hot, dry summers. Their dam building activities raise the water table, and ultimately they sheath off a lot of that hot water as it's, you know, kind of collecting on the top of the pool. Well, it will run right off, and that cold water, as you've probably dipped in a lake, you've known that the cold water's below and that warm water's on top. Well, beaver dams do a great job of moving that hot water right off the top and keeping that cold water there. And that's what those juvenile coho have got to have in the summertime, because they do not like it hot. And that's where we're aware of that. And that's what Kelly's gonna, you know, also talk about a little, as she's been doing a lot of temperature monitoring for our watersheds to ensure that we know where we're exceeding daily max temperature volumes. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kelly here, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about what she's learned that other watershed councils have been working on with beaver dam analogs.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Graham. Yep, Kelly, I am a project manager, do a lot of water quality monitoring with the North Coast Watershed Association, and I sort of pushed the last iteration of the Ecola Creek Beaver Habitat Restoration grant through OWEB, which was again not funded. And it was interesting. I was reviewing some of the reviewer comments a couple days ago, and though within there is documented literature that states that forage and dam building materials are limiting factors for beaver. The comment that stood out to me was that the reviewers say, we don't know why beaver are not here. We don't know why they're not here. The habitat might not be suitable. We're trying to make the habitat more suitable. And another aspect is that not all beavers build dams. It's something that I didn't quite realize until I started getting more involved in this beaver habitat restoration project. And so I think that there are possibly areas in Ecola Creek where beaver activity is, where they maybe don't want to build dams. And so one of the very exciting solutions and aspects that was not included in any previous iteration of this project is what's called beaver dam analogs. And there's a bunch of different acronyms and terms that could insinuate slightly different variations of how these are constructed. But what I'm speaking about today, beaver dam analogs, and what I learned about in a workshop down in Charleston, Oregon, a couple months ago, was how to build these things just with people, boots on the ground, work crews, building it essentially the way beavers would, taking chunks of root wad material and from appropriate places to create channels, and using that to construct along with sticks that you just stick into the sides of the banks. I mean, super low tech, which is why my aspect of the presentation here is beaver dam analogs, a low tech solution to a complex problem. So this is a photo of some of the folks from DSL and the ODF and W who I was down there building these things with, and you can see the drastic difference in water levels behind where the woman in the sort of blue hat is sort of packing in some of that mud. And the woman in front is, you know, ankle deep, and she's about waist deep behind there. It's a fairly not very wide channel there. And so prioritizing tributaries and aspects of Ecola Creek that have these like incised, or incised basically means like very, very deep, where the sides are quite high, and the sediments have been worn down over time instead of accruing. And so catching some of those sediments to raise the level of the floor of the stream is one of the features that these BDAs can bring to a landscape, in addition to beaver dams. And so a BDA here is just defined for you to read there. And this is taken just from the presentation of one of the biologists on the call before this workshop took place. And yeah, so basically we are building beaver dams acting like little human beavers. So this is another aspect of what you may hear thrown around as process-based restoration, meaning that we really lean into natural processes and try to have sort of the lightest hand possible for the largest payoff. And I was really excited in learning how to build these and learning about this sort of later generation of beaver dam analogs, whereas originally a lot of heavy machinery was used, a lot of large posts, you know, telephone poles just pounded in. And now postless beaver dam analogs are what I'm most excited about. No equipment required, no heavy hand at all. So this is something that is really community oriented as well, and something that I'm really excited to start bringing into our restoration projects is, you know, the more that a community is involved, I think the better outcomes we'll see both ecologically and socially. So they are relatively impermanent. They're going to require maintenance the way that any beaver dam does. And they still serve a purpose in the time that they exist. And if we implement them in the beginning of the summer, they'll still create those pools. They may wash out completely or partially during high winter flows. But any of these kinds of projects will include a couple of years of maintenance, and ideally a few years after any maintenance occurs of monitoring as well. So again, BDAs or beaver dam analogs work the same as beaver dam. This is me standing underneath what one of the folks I worked with out in Charleston jokingly referred to as an ABD, an actual beaver dam. That's the natural beaver dam. And the channel I'm standing in is a couple of feet wide, maybe. It's so tiny, but it's vast, the pool I'm looking at behind this beaver dam. And this sort of really shows the potential of what a well-placed structure, or ideally a complex of structures. They often don't function alone. It'll be a series of them, a handful to a dozen or so within a stretch of stream. Again, they're accumulating sediment. They're accreting the bottom of a stream, reducing downstream turbidity as well, and clearly increasing floodplain connectivity behind them. This is just a really great visual that is connected with a lot of the literature surrounding beaver dam analogs and how they function to create more complex functioning ecosystems. And I just threw this in there to show what an ideal situation would look like in terms of implementing a beaver dam analog. Ideally, beavers will come in and start maintaining them on their own. But even if they don't, they still serve the purpose. And again, not all beavers build dams. Beavers may or may not respond to any restoration work that we do. This is a way of ensuring that what we're looking for is going to happen and that the community will be involved and that it's very low input. Why do we want to put BDAs in ECOLA? And I just listed off some of the reasons why I'm excited to incorporate BDAs into the next iteration of the ECOLA Creek Forest Reserve beaver habitat restoration grant to OWEB. So there is a small presence of beaver. So they are there. There are food floats and relic dams that are around. We do not know exactly why they are not there. We do know that lack of forage and dam building materials is part of it. We don't know for sure if that will do anything. And so I think that it's worth trying because we do know that is something that is missing. And we do know that we can build these dams on our own and they will function at least partially for a period of time and create system-wide changes that very likely could continue to have effects even after human maintenance stops, even in the absence of beaver maintaining our BDAs. And I also have friends in strategic places. I guess I used to work as a biological technician at Lewis and Clark National Historical Park. They have youth work crews that come through in the summer, and I've already spoken with them about potentially using some of like a week or so of a youth crew or two to help build some of these that are in more remote places. And I think that that's going to really give us a leg up in terms of practicality of implementing something like this. And I think that's all I have.
Cool. And I'll just, piggyback on what Kelly was saying with the previous submissions of this project. It is important to mention that the project that we submitted to OWEB for the last grant round was recommended for funding. The problem being it did not pass the funding threshold. So it was ranked 12th amongst all the other Region 1 projects. So that's from here all the way down to Yachats, actually, that's Region 1. So, so it wasn't that they didn't want to fund it, it didn't meet the threshold, the cutoff of the funding. So I think it's good to mention that, we've answered a lot of their, concerns and questions. And in some ways, this is a good opportunity for us to resubmit because we didn't have BDAs included previously. So this is kind of a opportunity for us to learn. And I think, that combination of planting areas, removing blackberry, and ultimately having BDAs in the mix could be, really a case study and seeing, with all these things combined, do you get the response that you're looking for? And ultimately with our snorkel data, we'll have the ability to measure the response because we'll be able to go to an area, know what that system had. And then if we dive it again, then we'll, and the BDAs are working and the coho numbers are up, then we'll know indeed it was the right thing to do. So, so another thing I want to just plug in here, which is we also have another grant that we're working off that I'm hoping later on after our talk today, we'll be able to go actually utilize a little bit of, which is we have a web mapping tool that we've developed in-house. And so we're working with the community as well to help just identify future restoration projects. And so that's one of the things where we have some tools that we'll probably use in combination with this project too, of monitoring our planting areas and actually delineating, where we want to remove a certain plant area, where we have removed a certain plant area. And when we've got this, great tool now that helps us just track and map all of our, plant species that we're putting out in the environment or removing, something that, I think the Parks Committee, we would love to have you all, work with us and use the tool as well. And so it's just one of the other ways that we're trying to really use GIS to leverage this, ability we have as a small organization to do big things, but ultimately put on the map the fact that, some of the best work that we do goes unseen. And so if we track that and can show the change over time, we're really going to see some more traction and do what we're supposed to be doing, which is providing our community members with the service of figuring out where restoration and enhancement project opportunities are so that we can work with all our partners to make our watersheds a healthier place for everyone. So I think with that, I'll open it up for questions and put forth, the mic to anybody else.
I've got one for you. So
Yeah.
talked about you're not going to bring new beavers into the area. We're going to cut down on an existing population to migrate into these new areas as their habitat becomes attractive to them. Do you have some information on what that would be? You're going to build some analogs areas, and how far upstream would we do that? Trying to understand how quickly a beaver would move from where it may exist now, and you probably have some population data of where it exists now. How quickly can it move into these new areas so that we can build analogs above where they could possibly reach within a reasonable amount of time before those become maintenance issues?
Yeah, so the thing I think it's important to think about beaver right now is that they are in the watershed. The challenge we have identified presence nuisance areas. So that's, one of the other attractive aspects of doing this work is to make sure that we create in the ECFR the most ideal, situation so that they're not going down into the tertiary ponds and, keying into areas that we maybe wouldn't like them. Now, where have they been identified? They've been seen on Naveen property up at, all the way almost to the top in the snow. So I think their distribution is wide. I think right now the reality is they're just kind of making a meager means. So, they're not thriving, and, beavers are highly social, and they live in family units, much like us. They're also very territorial, and you cannot move beaver into a new watershed from another watershed, because oftentimes the beaver will kill the other beaver. So you have to really work with what's there. And so that's where we're just trying to figure out, okay, can we take the ones that are there and have their families expand, right? So if they have a lodge, and they can have more kits, and then those kits are ultimately going to create another big family. So I think it's really more of a question of like, how are they doing their beaver thing, and is that in a way, facilitating more of their family units to grow? Does that answer your question, or?
And
Yeah,
just
Kelly.
to add on to that, you mentioned a maintenance issue. And in my mind, the way that any BDAs will be built, maintenance is only an issue insofar as you want it to be. There's no infrastructure will be there that is not native and in situ to where we're constructing them. And so any materials that we use will be harvested from those areas. In terms of soil and sediments, we can, dig out little channels and, take the proper precautions and things like that, and possibly fell some alders and use those branches, cut them off and stick them in the sides of the bank and maintain them to the tune that we would like, if they are not colonized by beaver. And so in terms of a maintenance issue, that's kind of the beauty of BDAs to me, is that like you can maintain them as much as you would like or as much as you wouldn't like. And they, if they are installed at the beginning of a summer, they are still going to have positive ecosystem impacts in their actions for that summer, which could potentially carry over for years.
Yeah, and also I'll say we've seen some of this up on the Nehalem. Actually, we've done a site tour with the Upper Nehalem and seen some of their BDAs where beaver have queued into them because there's a lot of available browse by those BDAs, and they're starting to utilize the material and really just build off the BDA. And then there's some areas where they haven't, and sometimes that might be from disease. There's sometimes maybe there's a roadkill or some cougar predation. So, they're very much a prey item out there, as well as they have their own population dynamics. So, we're just trying to give them the best opportunity. And that's where I think, have an awesome opportunity to work with you all to make a really what I think could be a case study for the coast. And that's where we're learning in this process. We're getting good feedback, and this is a long road, but ultimately it's a good one to be on. And we're really appreciative to be here today and just to work with you all in really aligning the city of Cannon Beach's parks and goals with overall watershed health goals. And so it means a lot for us to be involved in this project with you all and get the support we need, which might be time working with Trevor and his team, might be time, working on the weekends with the Parks Committee, just a variety of ways that you can support us. So this is one, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would, first of all, I really appreciate you coming in and sharing with us. I'm anxious not to make this meeting go too long, but I really want to spend some more time, getting some more details. But we need every opportunity that we can come up with to demonstrate that you've got the public support that we all believe in. And so I like your idea about the dam analog, because that's something I think we can do.
Yeah.
Me too. It's really exciting for that.
And it's a lot funner than killing blackberries. So, yeah.
There was a lot of laughs out there, building those analogs, so. Yeah.
Would you guys like to have Graham's presentation?
Yes.
Okay. I sent it to Sherry and she'll send it to everyone.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And then you have something after the Parks meeting?
Yeah, so on that note, we're gonna actually go over, Sleeping Monk is not open today, but we were just gonna have a little time to sit down and talk with us in more detail, because that's one of the things we're trying to do now that we are like a good Beaver family, expanding and dividing. We have some more time, and I have some abilities now that I've got Erica on board to kind of help with the outreach piece, because I'm one person, but with three of us, we've got more capacity to really receive and take in feedback. So after the Parks Committee meeting, we'll be over there enjoying, our cups of coffee we brought from home. So
I'll be snorkeling the West Fork Ecola.
yeah. But
Even.
and so
I just wanted to plug, we did recently move from our old office, so we're now located in the historic Y building in Astoria. So if you are familiar with downtown Astoria, where the big Peace Lutheran Church is, and we're directly across the street from that kitty corner to right down in the same building as Gathered Bake Shop. And right now we have someone. I am someone in the office on Tuesdays and Fridays. That will be increasing once my children go back to school. Thank you. And you can get all of this information as well as a plethora more. We can email you all, and by we I mean me. I will email you any presentations if you want to connect with myself or Graham or Kelly about volunteer opportunities. If it be, doing mailers with us, giving some phone calls, volunteering with us to get your hands in the dirt, fantastic. But you're more than welcome to please stop by up there if you're, making a trip north. And everything has been updated on our website. Some people have said that they have been automatically directed to an old version of the website that has our old address on it. So if you have people that live in Astoria that are wondering about these beaver dams we're going to build and want to send them our direction, please make sure you send them to the historic Y building, because that's where we are. So
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
thanks for having us, and we'll be in touch, and we'll work with you all. I mean, we've got some other things like some cages in the watershed. We need to kind of have a volunteer day around to remove for some plantings done before my time even. So we'll be leaning into you guys more and more as time goes on. And thank you so much for your time. So,
Thanks for your good work.
okay.
if you would like to see one of our partnership projects in its finest, we're having a party with Hampton on September 3rd out in Napa.
Six. Yeah.
Yep, I have the third deadline in my head because that's when I need to get all of the donations in. We are having a celebration of forestry and environmental stewardship in Napa at the Hampton Family Farms office. There's an Interc center that they've kind of put together on a little forestry trail. We will have a silent auction going on in their yurt. Tickets are $50, and we would love to get some representation from the Cannon Beach and Arch Cape communities. If $50 is too much for someone in your community, but you think they'd really benefit from learning more about the partnership that we're doing with industry to do restoration within the watershed, please email me. Let me know. There's things that we can do. We're also looking for volunteers, but we would really like to see some of our southern neighbors meet with some of our northern neighbors to talk about the restoration work that we're able to do, because it is a unique partnership between industry and ecology that we would like to shine more light on. So I'm done now.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Oh, Bob.
Okay, Kirk, whenever you're ready, you can come back up to your spot.
The agenda has right-of-way trees before me.
We're there are no right-of-way trees this month, so.
AJ's home with a sick kid.
Oh,
And I was out of town for a couple of weeks, but I looked at his notes to do the best I can. We've been recently cutting back a lot of blackberries and pruning along the Sioux Lagoon Trail. In conjunction with one of our contractors. The basketball court project is all done, completely resurfaced and repainted. It's brand new. It looks great.
Right.
It's what Randy wants to see happen at the tennis courts someday, but AJ's planted 2 new trees since last meeting. The new beach access stairs at Center Street are complete. That's open.
Hey, good.
Please go check it out.
Ah.
It turned out.
It's a big,
Oh, that's great.
big project. That is a heck of an access. We've been focusing mostly on landscape maintenance, including irrigation. Someone donated a half a pallet of sod to us. AJ jumped on it with my recommendation. We agreed to do it, and he patched up kind of a dirt area under the climbing tree at the playground, and we'll see how it takes. Still get a lot of use, but we did a good job, 150 square feet or so.
Oh, that's great.
Someone offers you a sod, it's like, where can we put that? And we came up with that.
Great.
Some trash can repairs and graffiti removal, kind of the usual thing. And that's about it this time of year, which keeping up more than big projects.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Things look great.
can I ask you a question? And it is only a question. The shrubbery and foliage that's immediately around City Hall, like along the Tower Street, and then the bike path has really looked overgrown the last while, and I wondered if there was.
This bike path needs some attention. I know that.
Reason that that wasn't getting the attention it used to anyway.
Because I only work 10 hours a week in the Parks Department, so.
But, and that could be,
But,
there's a lot to do.
actually, I think, AJ's been here for a little more than a year, but I'm still coming up with a place like, oh, you know what? I never told him about this. And we go and look at it. So the bike trail especially now along Gower Street. Actually, I haven't spent time there myself, but AJ was doing a pretty good job. And it's a little overgrown. And of course, maybe it was my fault, but I had this discussion a while ago about how this is all getting ripped out anyway, so don't give it too much attention this summer. It's like, but that's just a good excuse for us to not do it, but.
Take a look on the trail behind us.
But the trail, we need just a hedge trimmer, weed eater and a blower, and that will look a lot better back there. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep. And I realize that. I drive my lawnmower through there to go mow across the highway, and it's like, man, we gotta take care of this someday. I've been thinking that for a month, so.
Some of the public works guys, or at least one of them, went down with a machete and at least widened it back out. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
Thank you. You guys are great.
Perfect.
Okay, so we don't have any right-of-way trees this month, as you guys saw. Next is heritage trees. And Trevor presented to council on Tuesday night, did a great job. And the council has approved our first heritage tree. So that's exciting. And I got a text from Barb this morning. She said to be sure and thank everybody for all their hard work on the first heritage tree. It's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Thanks for everyone that showed up and was on Zoom. Thanks for being there, Anita. The 2 members that were not there will have a discussion after this meeting.
That was right. Well, you did a great job, Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor, thank you. Thank you.
And now we need to start thinking about tree number 2.
We'll get it.
But I think we learned some interesting things when we finally got to go through the process.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. Next is tree focus group. Les, do you want to do a brief?
I did not think about being prepared for that. Yeah. So most of you are aware that a small group of people, which include myself, Stacy, Jan, as well as Lisa Kerr and Mike Bates have been working on proposing some updated tree protection for the code update. That has been publicly reviewed in a couple of planning meetings now, and there's been a ton of public response. A lot of concern on how protecting trees is going to negatively affect how people can, what they can do on their own property, and we're taking that to heart. I think we are supposed to come back again in September to that planning commission with a newer version where we're gonna try to address a lot of that concern. Anyway, it's just been a really long work in progress, and I think the feedback that we've gotten is exactly what you would expect.
Mhm.
Because our intent was to try to really put some strong protections in our existing trees. We also were concerned that there were a lot more trees being removed than were being replanted. There are a ton of reasons for that, but we wanted to do what we could to ensure that this remains a Tree City, USA city. Like I say, it's been an ongoing process, and it will continue to be an ongoing process. I don't know what else to say about it.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, there has been, and a lot of good, and a lot of good input from the community. Even the negative input was very well thought out in most cases and legitimate points to consider.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody's input.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I spent some time with the red line version earlier this week and then watched the videos again from the public testimony. And I think you've done an excellent job of taking the public input and incorporate that into your existing document. That's not easy to do, particularly when you may have a theme from the public input, but there's maybe some divergence in perspectives, but nice work with that. And you see there's a lot of work that has gone into it. And personally, thanks for mentioning climate change a couple of places. So.
Yeah. And we understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Community grants. You saw in the packet, I hope, that we received two very, very nice thank you notes from some of the community grant recipients from FASA, from Nikisha, and then also from the North Coast Land Conservancy. That's very nice that they thanked us, and I know they really, really appreciate the funding. And it was nice to speed up the process a little. They got their money earlier, so thanks again to Sherry for seeing that happen. I have been in contact with Andrew Tonry, and the next concert in the park for Tollivan Arts Colony is September 8th. And I told him we'd be interested in speaking then, presenting these community grants. It'll be during the intermission. So the meetings or the concert starts at 5. So I assume it'll be around 6. So if any of you or all of you that could be there, it'd be great. The mayor has agreed to make the presentation. So, but if we could all be there to support our grants, that'd be awesome. And it's going to be a good concert. I'm not sure exactly who's performing, but those are always really good concerts. So, any questions about that? Okay, thank you. Betty, you're next with the reserve cleanup.
Okay. This week, we're going to be meeting, we're going to be back at the end of Hemlock and 6th. And this is hopefully our last time there. I mean, moving on. And I hear you guys are thinking about doing this trail. I guess we could do that too. I mean, if you're overloaded, we could work on that trail up there. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if you're talking about a month from Saturday, we will have done something there before then.
We're gonna hack it back. Okay.
Well, I do have some notes on what you said in the last meeting, so I'll talk to you about where we should meet the next time then.
Tell me you need a new location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll find you one.
If I might suggest something, on Fifth Street, adjacent to the park where the stream crosses and there's a little bridge there. You know, that's always looked like just something that's out of control. You know, maybe we could go through and thin it out. 'Cause
Which
right
street,
now-
which street?
Fifth Street.
Right, Les Shirley
So-
Park.
What about West Shirley Park?
Oh,
Maybe on the other side, because we worked in Les Shirley Park. Maybe you're
Exactly,
talking about on the other side of the little bridge?
correct. You know, right where the stream is at, you know, because it's just a blackberry haven.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, maybe if we could go through and just thin it out.
Where the water line repair was done.
Exactly.
What you're talking about.
Take a look at that location, Betty, and let me know if that's acceptable for you guys.
Fifth Street,
Yeah. If it's not, I'll find you someplace else.
okay.
There was a huge,
That would
We removed some
really
huge
clean that up
blackberry
a
bushes.
lot, you know.
Okay.
was a significant patch of knotweed in there that I think we got. But it'd be worth looking at again.
Right. Thanks, Betty. Thanks for getting that text out and
Okay.
getting everybody there. So finally, is 12 Days of Earth Day. Les and Betty and I met with Trevor and Sherry and Karen to go over the changes we had recommended for the handbook. They had some changes as well. So Betty incorporated all those. We'll send it on to the attorney for her changes, and then we will bring it to the committee to review and approve this new version. So, anyway, stay tuned. Don't know when that might be, but it shouldn't be too long. So thanks for the meeting and going over that. Now we have good of the order. Does anybody have anything for good of the order?
One of the things that I've been concerned about, seeing more and more in town are kids or whoever there is putting those permanent stickers on so many things.
Yep.
I hate them.
And you know what? I was just wondering if those stickers are they being sold in town? Is that
It's hard to tell.
hard to tell?
We're trying to clean up as much as we possibly can.
Oh, I know. I just can't even imagine how you're gonna do that.
You have to use razor blades and do one by one. It's impossible.
Ugh, ugh.
I hate, they should be outlawed stickers.
Gotta change signs because they've just gotten too.
I know. It's disgusting.
It is.
Ugh. Well, is there anything we could do to help you? I mean, I could go to,
Get a bunch of razor blades and make that your project.
Who cares about blackberries?
Here's about blackberry.
you think there's a way, maybe alcohol or something underneath, lifting it and alcohol?
Tried a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, nothing's working.
Geez, that's so time consuming.
Yeah,
It is.
it's horrible.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway.
So we've been told we can't have chainsaws as a work party. I wonder if it should be trusted with razor blade.
I don't think you actually should. Cause,
Single blade, paint scraper.
oh yeah, those are good. Those are good.
That's doable.
Yeah.
So back to the public comment we had earlier today. Would you all like to discuss the possibility of requesting windscreens for the Second Street tennis courts?
I think it should be a next month's agenda.
Yeah, because I would like to have staff be able to.
Right, that's what I mean, if we should have it on the agenda for next month. Sorry if I didn't make that clear.
But yeah, it sounded like from Kirk's comments that really the other part of the comments having to do with the interval that the windscreens are up is probably not a significant issue.
Well, I think this, Mike was being cautious. That might have come from the conversations, but adjusting the days when the windscreens go up. Like I said, my understanding from the DRB a long time ago, before I worked here, was end of May, 1st of June, middle of September, end of story. It was very kind of loose because there's a lot of variables with weather and wind and what's going on in staff, day of the week, weekends, no one's working. And we already take him down on the 15th. He was misinformed about Labor Day. I can put them up early on the middle of May and let this whole project.
Let's have this discussion.
Okay,
Yeah. So Sherry, if you wouldn't mind putting on the agenda for next month, we can have a discussion
can.
then. Okay, anybody have anything else?
Yeah.
Dan?
I just wondered about what was the machine that they were talking about? Would that go on the agenda as well?
The AED.
Oh,
The heart machine?
heart fit, I don't know that that has anything to do with parks really,
Nope,
so,
chamber. Okay.
okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.